Welcome to the pilot episode of Beyond the Faceoff. And today we are going to be talking about Ryan Galloway and his introduction to the refereeing world. Um, Not only has he made a name for himself as a referee, but has also become a respected figure in the sports community. So please enjoy me in welcoming Ryan Galloway. So thanks for joining us today, Ryan.
Thanks for having me, Kev. I'm excited to do this. This is a new foray for me, so I'm really excited and looking forward to this opportunity. So thanks for taking the initiative to get something like this going.
Awesome. So, before we actually dive into your career as NHL linesman, we have to go all the way back to at the beginning. So, when you, where did you grow up, and what was your early life like?
So I grew up in St. James, west side of Winnipeg. Really, you know, middle class neighborhood. Grew up in a great neighborhood where everybody watched out for each other, and all the kids got together on Saturday nights and went and played hide and go seek at the park. So I had a great foundation of friends and relationships. Very similar mindsets of active. We'd play hide and go seek, we'd play football, we'd play baseball. It was always a very active group, and that kind of sort of began the journey for me of being active. Um, as far as sports go, I think I started skating when I was probably 5 years old, and started playing when I was, I think, 6 or 7. Um, but was always active in other sports. Every school sport you could think of. Um, Soccer. I never played baseball. Never played football, but yeah, every school sport imaginable other than basketball, because my basketball coach in high school told me, gave me a tryout for about 30 seconds and said, "Yeah, that's enough. I've seen enough." So he told me to find something else to do. But I grew up in a very active family. All my brothers and sisters, they played sports, and it was important. It was important for my parents that we do stuff. Like we're not just going to sit around. We're not going to sit around watching TV. And it was kind of the start of the video game era, and we weren't going to sit around playing Atari at the time. Um, I had very supportive parents that got me involved with sports. Um, played hockey till I was probably 15 or 16, and just wasn't having the fun that I should have been having as a player. And that kind of ended my playing career. But I started refereeing when I was well, I got certified the first time when I was 12. But before that, and you'll know this name, but my neighbor behind us, Chris Dale, his dad was coached his younger son, and asked Chris and I if we'd come out and just drop the puck for his son's 5, 6, 7-year-old games out at McBay outdoor rink. And so yeah, that's what we did. We went out, we dropped the pucks, we skated around with the kids, and from that moment on, it was just something I really enjoyed. And both my brothers officiated, and being the younger brother, I figured, well, I've got to do the same thing they do. So when I was 12 and was able to get certified for the first time, I went to my first clinic, and it just grew from there. For whatever reason, officiating, refereeing was always something that I enjoyed. I enjoyed seeing the game from that perspective.
Mm.
I enjoyed my involvement in the game from that perspective. And to this day, I mean, my best friends that I have are still from the guys that I refereed with in Manitoba. So it's an interesting community that we rely on each other off the ice, and we form pretty incredible relationships off the ice.
That's awesome. And like you're saying, as a kid, you're growing up and falling in love with sports, and then grew into the officiating side of things. Was there a point in your life where you just sort of said, "Hey, I love sports. I love being active"? Was there anything that sort of stood out in your mind as a point where you said, "Hey, I want to pursue this even more"?
Yeah. So when I quit playing, I got involved with competitive cycling, and um, it was it's an interesting sport because it's a very independent sport, but it's also a team sport at the same time. And that that mindset transitioned very cohesively over to officiating, where it is a very individual job. We're all fighting for the opportunities, but we also need to support each other and be good teammates. So it was a it was an interesting transition to go from hockey to officiating. When I was 18 years old, one of my greatest mentors to this day, Ian Heather, he was the godfather of officiating in Manitoba, and still is involved. But he took me aside one day. Where I was a monitor at the community center, and there was a social going on. And he pulled me aside one day and he said, if you stick with it, this is something you can really make a career out of. And that was sort of the motivation to stick with it. It wasn't an easy journey. It was a long journey. As I said, I started when I was 12. I got that spark lit under me when I was 18, and I never got hired to the NHL until I was 29. Worked my first game as a 30-year-old. So it's a long progression to get there. It was incredibly rewarding. The experiences I had along the way at the amateur level were beyond anything I could have imagined. If you'd told me that those types of opportunities were available and that I could make a career out of it when I first started at 12 years old, I would have said you were crazy. But there truly is the opportunities as officials, even though there might be less of them, is it's the same progression. It's the same opportunities that exist as players and coaches. And sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we forget that third group out on the ice has goals and wants to achieve the best and reach for the highest level. Sometimes we just think the guys out there in stripes, the guys and girls out there in stripes are just there to call that game, and they go home and they come back for the next game. But if you talk to any official, we all strive for that opportunity to work the next level or work the final game, whatever it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Like you're saying that Ian Heather was one of your mentors in becoming a ref. Was he involved and could see the progression of going as a professional career, and is that why he sort of encouraged you to keep going on, or was it just more um, we like what you're doing? Like, how involved was he at the time when you had that talk?
So Ian was the referee in chief of St. James Minor. So he was the one that was giving me the opportunities within my local area to get games and progress up through the ranks. But he was also heavily involved with MAHA, or Hockey Manitoba, as it's called now. He was heavily involved with them and worked in the development of officials to get to the highest levels within the branch. He always tells this story of I think it was one of my first level one clinics where I came into the classroom, and they go around and they ask everybody to introduce themselves, and he tells a story like it happened yesterday, that I stood up and I said, yeah, one day I want to referee in the NHL. And everybody in the rest of the classroom kind of laughed, and whatever, that's never gonna happen. But he tells that story, and then to carry that forward to what he said to me when I was 17 or 18. He was the guy that even to this day, even to my last game, I could rely on. As I said, he was one of my greatest mentors, and I've been incredibly fortunate to not only have Ian Heather, but other figures, Earl Armshaw and Don Curick and Don Smith, Wayne Schultz, all these. I mean, they were the top guys in Manitoba. They were the decision makers, and they had the trust and faith in what I was doing, and gave me the opportunities to succeed. And it was on me to receive those opportunities and make the best out of them. And fortunately, I was able to.
That's awesome. It's great to always have a mentor like that to sort of help push you and support you, and especially along your career as well. It's great to have not only family supporting you, but people who actually see the skill and can help you progress in your career. So that's awesome that you had that kind of mentor to help you throughout your ref career.
Well, and not only mentors, Kev, but I was incredibly fortunate that the group of officials that I came up with in Winnipeg and in Manitoba, we had a really unique bond. We all took pride when one guy succeeded, and we all kind of owned some of the failures when a guy didn't succeed. So we were incredibly supportive. I had um, just the best officials in the province that were helping me get to the level that I was achieving or striving for. And conversely, I was there to support them however best I could. It was a really unique group. As I said, they're still my best friends. That we got together this year in the spring. We got together at a friend's cottage, and some of us haven't seen each other in like 5 or 6 years. And it was like not a day had gone by. The same stories came up, the same throwing barbs at each other. They all came up, and some really good memories were shared of experiences we had on the ice, experiences we had away from the ice. The other really unique thing about the group that I came up with was not only were we close, but it started off as a tradition of when we get paid. But one of the leagues, not to a major junior hockey league, the referee in chief, he would pay us at the end of the month by a check, and we'd all get together at the Cambridge Hotel, and unfortunately that's coming down in Winnipeg. But we'd all get together at the Cambridge Hotel on a Friday night towards the end of the month, and we'd get together and we'd talk about the games that had gone on that night or that week, and really great opportunity to reconnect. But what also was special was our girlfriends and some of the guys that were married. They all came together, with us, and my wife Rhonda, some of her best friends are wives and girlfriends of the officials that I worked with in Manitoba. So again, we sometimes think that the world of officiating is just this, you just go and you do the game and you go home and that's it. But it was a really incredible group that we had, that not only was just the officials, but how our partners were just as involved. And, the friendships that were created as a result of officiating. I can't say it enough. Incredibly fortunate for the experiences and the friendships that I've been able to make as a result of this.
Yeah, building a community like that is always helpful because your colleagues that you're working these games with, they understand the struggles that you go through, the games, the technical aspects, but also having the wives and girlfriends and the other families support each other as well, knowing that, hey, they're doing a bunch of traveling and they're far away, but I can lean on you to help support me while he's gone, sort of thing. So having that
100%.
sense.
There's not a chance I could have done this job for as long as I did, both at the amateur and the professional level, without a partner that was understanding of what was involved. That we might have dinner set up for Friday night that I had off, but the game comes ahead, and somebody gets sick or not available to make the game, and all of a sudden, half an hour before you're supposed to be going to the movie, now you're getting called to a hockey rink, and that was just part of what it took to be at that level, the sacrifice and the commitment. But you can't do that without a partner that's willing to accommodate, understand, and put aside some of their goals and ambitions and wants for the sake of what our passion is. So, yeah, couldn't do this job without my wife, and I'll even go before that. My girlfriends at the time, before I met my wife, that were also understanding. Like it's a huge commitment for them as well.
No, absolutely. And yeah, before we dive any further into this series, I think we sort of need to explain what our connection is, and why I'm actually talking and asking all of these questions. So, why don't you explain to the audience in your version of how we met and anything that stood out from our first encounter?
Yeah. Now, I think I've got it right. That's a long time ago because it was elementary school. But I believe you moved to the province from Grand Prairie, Alberta. Is that
That's correct.
I'm correct on that. And when you came into the classroom, I don't know, we just connected very quickly, and I can still remember your old house on Rouge Road, and every time I drive by it, I still think of, hey, that's Torps's old house. But we just had a connection that started really quickly, and then it progressed through. I believe at one point you moved back away, and then you moved back to Winnipeg. I can't remember when that would have been. Probably junior high, high school.
Yeah.
And then you came back and sort of moved, obviously not into the same house, but into the same area. So you went to the same schools again, and we reconnected. Just like my buddies that I hadn't been with for 5 years, we reconnected right away, and we carpooled to university. We both went through. I went through physical education. You went through, what was it called?
Recreation studies.
Rec studies. That's right. So we carpooled with another friend, Jason McKechnie, and it's just been a friendship that's carried on. And even when you moved out to Alberta, and I got hired, we reconnected on a few occasions. In Calgary, we went for dinner a few times. But I think what's most special to me, Kev, is the effort that you made to be in my 1000th game, to be in my final game, and that meant a lot to have somebody make that kind of effort to be there to share on an occasion and an event like that for me. And some of the old high school buddies got together as well, and we had a fun night. And that really meant a lot to me, and I think that says a lot about the friendship.
No, I absolutely loved going out for that one. Once we heard that you're reaching that goal, it's like, yes, I have been following your career on TV, and I yelled at you a few times because my team wasn't winning, but I knew it was just part of the game.
Somehow that was my fault.
Exactly. I was gonna hold it over your head, but no. All joking aside, I'm so proud of you for being in the NHL for that long, and it's like, I wanted to be there for that 1000th game to congratulate you and make sure that you were recognized. It's not just the people that were local to Winnipeg. It's like, no, I wanted to fly out and I wanted to give you my face-to-face and say congratulations. So I was happy to make the trip out there and, like you said, reconnect with some of our old high school buddies. And actually since then, I've been keeping in touch with them as well and maintaining that friendship, which is
That's
awesome.
Yeah, I'll go back to one other thing. One key event that I seem to have just remembered was graduation from Westwood Collegiate back in, was it 90, 91?
90, yeah.
Back when car decorating was a big thing. You were prone to injuries, and I had almost embarrassed to say this, but I always had heavy vascularization on my legs, and you and I went as Dr. Veins, and
I forget what my name was, but
what was yours?
I remember the car decorating for sure.
Decorated the old blue Mustang hatchback.
It wasn't a Mustang. It wasn't.
I thought it was a Mustang.
As in the little Acadian, almost like a Chevette.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking. Oh no, I knew the convertible Mustang. We decorated that thing up with the pom poms and all the the flowers and whatever else. And we had broken arms.
It wasn't. It was casts and everything. It was doctor related stuff because I'd broken so many bones during my career at Westwood. So it was like casts of arms and legs, and we had crutches going out the back as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we've had a long relationship, a long friendship, and something I'm very thankful for. So when you reached out about doing this, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to do it, and knowing your experience with podcasting, for sure this would be a great opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome. No, happy to do it. So yeah, why don't we just quickly dive back? You were saying Ian Heather was one of your big influences, but I'm kind of curious how your family was an influence on you becoming active in sports and pursuing a referee slash linesman career. So why don't you tell a little bit
Yeah,
about
my
that?
my dad was he was an active he was active in baseball when he was a kid. So sports were always an important thing, and also the life lessons that come along with sports was also necessary. And sports is such a great way to learn about true life skills that my parents always saw that sports were an essential part of our lives. Um, so they had me in all the different sports, as I said earlier. But the one thing they did say, and it was a really tough thing for me to do personally because I came from this hockey family. My brothers both played. My oldest brother, he was very much like me. He was an average player, but loved the game, and in fact, he still plays to this day. My next oldest brother, he definitely got the skills in the family. He was a draft pick back, and I believe it was 1988 by the Winnipeg Jets 1.0. Um, so my sister, she played ringette, was active in that sport, but um, it was difficult for me to make that decision to leave the ice as a player because I thought I'd be letting them down. As I said, it was every night we were off to a rink somewhere, and mom always made sure supper was on the table so that we could get out to the games. And we had the big van that not only drove us around but also probably half the team. Um, but they were incredibly supportive. So when the day came where I finally said, you know what, I'm not having the fun that I should have as a player, I really assumed I was going to let them down, and both of them said, they said, I don't care what you play. We don't care that you play hockey, whatever it is, but the one thing you're not doing is just going to be sitting around. You're gonna find something else. And that's when I got I got involved with cycling and had a pretty good amateur career as a competitive cyclist. Um, but that was the one thing they said. So to have that support of them going, you know what, it's okay that you don't love hockey as a player the way you should, and to be playing at that level, and it's okay, and that meant a lot to have that support, and to be able to transition and find another sport that I equally had a passion for, or more so, I should say, not equally. But officiating was always something I had in the background. That was something that I started much sooner than that. And it was something I loved, and even though I wasn't enjoying my time on the ice as a player, I loved. I was a rink rat. I would go to the Keith Bodley Arena. It was the KW Community Center at the time, but the Keith Bodley Arena, and I would just sit there all day long. And whether it meant somebody missed out on a game and I could throw my equipment on and get out there, or if it just meant I was moving the nets around out on the ice. Um, Being around the rink was always something important to me, and yeah, the hockey hockey was an integral part of our family growing up, and this was just my way of being able to stay connected to the game. And clearly, I made the right choice because I got a lot further than I ever would have as a player.
No, that's awesome that you're able to recognize that, yeah, you just weren't enjoying it and that your parents were understanding enough just to say, well, if that's not the route that you want to go, you're going to find something. So I'm glad that they were able to help direct you into definitely the cycling career, and then for you to be able to find officiating as a passion as well. So let's scale it back to the first time that you were a referee, whether you want to talk about Mr. Dale asking you to ref or an actual official first game as a referee. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so like I remember working those games um, out at McVeigh, and it was just fun to be out there, and I don't know if what it was that really drew me to that perspective on the game of really enjoying the officiating, whether it was just kind of being um, an active part of the game, but not in the same level as a player or a coach. There's just something I always enjoyed about it. I remember, uh, you know, when Mr. Dale first asked us, he said, "We're not, we can't pay you." But whenever I came off the ice, there was it was either a hot dog and a hot chocolate or a pizza pop and a Coke, um, and it was just a really cool experience to be able to be out there with these young kids. And like you go to an NHL game now and you see the Timbits out there playing, and it's just fun. It's pure. It's kids playing for the sake of playing, and maybe that's what drew me to it, was seeing that kind of fun again, in somebody else. And the officiating was a way for me to stay involved with it. I can't honestly say I remember the first game I ever worked certified. I do. I mean, that's 40 years ago, so my memory's good, just not that good. But it was. Let me go back one step further. I remember as a kid playing that I would ask my parents. I'd say, this was probably when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. Do we have real refs? Because when you're a kid, it you'd have the parents or coaches be out there on the ice, and maybe the ones dropping the puck and blowing the whistle and doing whatever. But I felt like I hit the big leagues when there was finally a actual referee out on the ice in a referee jersey. Um, so when I got certified, I don't know, maybe it was that again. Maybe it was that rekindling the experience of this is a big thing. It's a big thing for me. It's a big thing for the players playing and the coaches and the parents. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of times where stuff happened in the arena and in the crowd where I questioned why I was even did I want to come back. And clearly my passion for it overrid some of the negative experiences I had. Sadly, I think I know it still happens to this day. I think we all need to realize that everybody's in the game for the same reason. Maybe looking at it from a different perspective and a different angle, but we're all here for the same reason. I kind of got off on a tangent here, but yeah, it was something I always enjoyed, and I still remember the first time I had to kick a coach out, and I remember going to the face-off afterwards, and I'm sure the parents in the stands could see my knees shaking. Because as a 12-year-old kid, to have to tell an adult that what they were doing was wrong and they had to leave the game, it was a tough experience. And as I said, I've got a long memory, but there's not a lot of things that have gone on throughout my career that really stand out. But key moments like that, where you had to make that call for the very first time at such a young age, those kind of memories stick out. Probably for the wrong reason,
Yeah.
but I definitely remember the first time that I remember taking players to the penalty box and they're crying, and no kid wants to go in the penalty box because they think they did something wrong and they're going to get in trouble. But I remember skating with little kids and it's like, hey, it's okay, it's just a penalty. You're going to come out. It's not a big deal. But yeah, just having that kind of interaction with kids. It's funny. I was working I guess I've now officially hit overtime. I went and worked a fundraiser game where some NHL legends came out and played a local team from Selkirk, Manitoba. And at one point in the third period, all these kids come out, and it was just like all these Timbit players come out, and they're skating around, and they're just taking basically free shots on the goalies. And the NHL legends, they were fantastic working with these kids. But skating down the ice, and this one little guy's on a breakaway, and Matthew Barnaby drags him down from behind. It was all scripted. We knew it was going to happen, but he drags him down from behind so he could get a penalty shot of one of these little Timbit players skating down the ice on the goaltender. And so we call a penalty, and all the Timbits, it's like, just there's the puck. That's where I'm going. So they all skate back to center ice, and the little guy who was going to have the penalty shot was standing there at center ice, and he's in tears. He's absolutely bawling. He thought he was the one that got the penalty.
Oh no.
So I don't know. To answer your question, Kev, I don't remember my first game, but I remember little things like that
Yeah.
along the way. You just sort of, I don't know. When, in hindsight, when I look back at it now, maybe that's what reignited kind of the passion of what the game is and what the game is about. And I was afforded, because of my role, to have an inside seat on that, and to have those interactions with players, coaches, and to see that passion. Maybe that's what really kept me in. Really kept me in the game.
No, you're saying that you kicked the coach out and your knees were shaking. After that game, did you have anyone talk to you about that and sort of reassure that yes, you made the right decision to help build up your confidence?
Yeah, I think I was working with another friend of ours, Dale England. I believe I was working with him in that game, and Dale was a father of a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours that we grew up with. Um, he was again another pivotal person that was involved with officiating in St. James. Um, and yeah, I'm sure he reinforced me that it's not an easy call, but it's the right call, and it's the one that needs to be made, and the coach deserved it, and those kind of infractions and that kind of action needs to be acknowledged. So yeah, to have that support, I remember making phone calls to Ian Heather, Earl Ormshaw, and like, Jesus, something's not going right in these games, and what am I doing wrong? And they just reinforced that being an official is not always about making the popular call; it's about making the right call, and reinforcing that um, we're out there for a job, and people might not like our decisions, but ultimately, we try to make the right call. Of course, we make mistakes and stuff happens, but um, ultimately, we just try to do the best we can. And at a young age, you need that reinforcement, saying, no, stick with it, and do what you can, or make those right calls. Have the courage to make the right calls. I always say to young kids when I talk to them at a clinic, I always say to them, you know what? Sometimes that abuse and yelling and screaming that we get in the arena is comes from a place of ignorance, and I don't mean that like the person's ignorant. I mean that they're not they're not as informed, and sadly, sports aren't taught rules. Sports are taught skills, and then we try to formulate a plan around our skills, but those don't always coincide with what the rules are. And I always say to the young kids when they're dealing with that kind of abuse, I say, you know what, you're probably the only two or three or four officials or people in that arena who've ever even picked up the rule book. So you need to have the confidence and courage that, based off of your knowledge, you're making the right call, and you have to tune that stuff, that noise, that yelling and screaming. It's easier said than done,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to tune that out as just background noise, but still stay focused on what your role is in the game of making it fair and safe.
No, absolutely. Well, Ryan, it's been fantastic hearing your story and learning about your journey so far. We have more to come. But before we wrap up here, is there any advice you'd like to share with someone thinking about getting into sports officiating and pursuing their passion?
Yeah, biggest piece of advice is give it a try. Like, you don't know you're going to enjoy it until you take that step, and go to a clinic, and try to get involved. It's an incredibly rewarding experience for a young player. It gives them a totally different perspective on the game, because now you are having to know the rules, and hopefully you learn to play within the rules. And um, it's a great way for a player to develop a different skill set that will not only help them as an official, but will also carry over to their experience on the ice as a player. Um, it's a tough job, and it's often a thankless job, but it's a man. If I look back at 40 years, would I ever trade the experience and opportunity that came my way, is because of fishing and because of some of that other stuff that comes along with it? Not a chance. You learn to grow a thick skin. You learn life skills that are going to carry over to your everyday life of dealing with adversity, dealing with challenges, self evaluation, because a lot of times there isn't somebody in that rink who's going to give you the support to to say, yeah, you made the right call. There's a lot of self-evaluation. All those skills that you learn as officials just carry over into a real world environment. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity, whether it's hockey, fishing, whether it's umpiring baseball or reffing ringette. Get involved. Give it a try. It's a it's been incredibly rewarding for me, and I'm sure anybody who gives it a try and puts a full effort into it is going to get the same rewards and the same benefits from a fishing. Awesome. That would be my best piece of advice.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ryan, for sharing your story with us today. I'm sure the listeners and viewers have learned a lot so far about where you grew up and how you became involved in officiating, and look forward to hearing more stories from you in the future. So thanks for everything today, and yeah, we will leave the last word to you, and then we will see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks, Travis. Really appreciate the questions. The best part about this is I think as we progress through this is kind of remembering and being reminded of why I got involved, and what I hopefully in my new roles is being able to carry forward and share with the next batch of officials coming up. I'm really looking forward to this, and I really appreciate this, and I appreciate anybody who's taking the time to watch it. So look forward to what the next show has to bring.